Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to Travis Told You. Yes, 2 weeks in a row, I've done it. You can thank my wife because she is away for the weekend because every year, I'm Travis Snell, by the way. That's in the name, right? The show's Travis Told You. Even if you didn't know my last name, oh, this dude must be named Travis, right? If you've watched Geek for some point, okay, that's the case. But yes, the wife and the ladies every year, I can't remember when it started, but my in laws own a cabin which you'll get to see one day. About an hour and a half from here, or something. Maybe it's a little longer. Either way, they do a yearly trip, and as I said on the live stream last night, that's why I did the watch along with the boys there. Big thank you to S Bubs and David for joining, and everyone that was in the chat. But that was tons of fun. I still would have done it if I was alone, but it's good to have other people there. So I think we'll for bigger events, not for every pay per view. I don't think. I always threaten to do a wrestling podcast, and I would love to. And today we're gonna be talking about some wrestling, talking about some other stuff, but. It's just time, but I'd love to because it's fun talking about it. But for some of those bigger events, I'll probably look out for that. We'll give it a whirl. But yeah, we're here. We got some news. Gonna be talking about some Aquaman stuff. Some Scream. We're finally gonna talk about the Scream situation. Talk about some boxes. I saw Saltburn. If you're in the Discord, you got a spoiler on how I feel about it, but I did see it. And yeah, it's gonna be a good time. So let me just let people know. There we go. So yeah, nice early morning cast. Getting this out of the way because I'm gonna try and hit the hopefully hit the gym before the ladies get back. And I literally got some cleaning. I'm doing like the kid thing where, before the parents get here, it's like, oh yeah, I'll get to it. Then it's last day. It's like, oh yeah, I guess I should do that type of stuff, eh? But yeah, I hope everyone had a good weekend. Everyone has a good week coming up. I got a 4-day week at work, so I'm excited about that. Yeah, I had just a random 6 hours left off, and boss like to pick a day. So I'm excited. Anytime I get a 4 week, I've said this before, and I'm not sure if anybody has this. You can let me know. But I am hoping at some point. There's some places around Canada, at least BC where I am. I'm not sure if other places are going to do this. The whole you could work 4 days and have 3 days off. That to me is the dream. I'm hoping it happens because to me the dream was to work from home, and I have that, and that's great. It's like life stability has been so much better as far as like travel time, what I get to do, etc., all that stuff. But if I were to have 3-day weekends all the time, because this is what I say you need a day, a fun day, just to like you go do something, hang out with friends, go do whatever, right? You need a productive day, so you got to do chores and everything like that, and then you need a rest day. With two, you can only get one of those. You can try and morph them together, and I'm talking about someone that has 3 kids. So somebody out there probably has a lot more time than I. But anyone else like myself, married, a bunch of kids, like the weekends fill up very fast, and you almost don't ever want to just do a full rest day because like, oh, I gotta do this and stuff. Like I want to go do this, or I want to, I have to do the laundry. 3, that's the great way to go. But yeah, so that's coming up, so I'm excited for that. So yeah, I hope everyone has a good weekend or week coming up. We got Sidecast video game award predictions. That's gonna be good. Or I guess the game awards. I always say video game, but the game awards. We'll have some more X-Men retrospective. We'll have a newscast as well. Yeah, good stuff as always. A big thank you to everyone that does support us. A big thank you if you really want to support us. Head over to Patreon. Get episodes ad-free, early, and exclusive. Very soon, patrons, you're going to be voting on our Christmas poll and our Zack Snyder poll. Those are going to be the next few movies we're reviewing. So if you want to pick, it's going to be between 300, Guardians of Gahul, and Sucker Punch. And then Christmas, we just take a bunch of suggestions. So, and the Planet of the Apes retrospective, that's happening like 8 months early. Like, when we say early, we like, of course, if we do stuff a couple days early, you get that as well. But there's casts on there like the X-Men retro. People are listening to that last January, and it's just releasing in November, right? So it's like October, November. So we try to put up stuff as early as possible. So we appreciate that. And more stuff like Travis told you, side quests, extra reviews, that happens because of Patreon and each and every one of you on there. And everyone listen, if you can't, that's completely fine. Just hit a download, hit a subscribe, listen, hopefully we'll be doing a survey at the end of the year, get a little temperature check of where it is, what they're wanting. But yeah, it's been a fun year. It's been a good month too. So yeah, let's get into this. Oh man. So CM Punk. Yeah, time for some wrestling talk. So I have a little bit of my thoughts out there because we did the live reaction last night, and great, and I wore the CM Punk shirt, so thank goodness. I was like, this better pay off. But I was somebody that legitimately did not think he was going to be there. Now, where am I on all this? I didn't think he'd be there last night because I didn't think they'd be able to hold that. Now, here's the thing where we didn't know, but like everyone had said this before, like, oh, WWE's done this, a couple of years ago, Cody Rhodes, 2022. And it was like, we didn't know. And of course, like we talk about with Star Wars or Marvels, that is a big thing, right? Or DC, when there's a reveal, it's like, okay, we might hear all these rumors like Toby and Andrew, right? But we didn't know 100%, right? So when you see it on screen, like, wow, there it is. So with Cody, that's the way I felt it was, that we all knew enough, but it wasn't a complete surprise with Punk, and we still had some idea. But even then, if you want to believe Triple H, they say the deal came together very quickly and all that jazz. So it's the thing of like, they say they weren't dropping hints on purpose, which I don't know. Some of these hints I don't watch weekly. I think I'm going to have to probably soon now with WWE because they got Punk and Cody. So it's like, and there's tons of other people on WWE that I love that I consider some of my favorite wrestlers like currently right now. But it's just the product had been but I think there's been enough changes lately where it's like, okay, I think I'm gonna have to get back on board here. So with Punk, it really was like a secret. And S Bubs asked that, like, is this the biggest secret? I think the only one, and I don't think it has the same impact, the only one is John Cena Rumble 2008 because they kept that such a secret, but it happened. And that's where I was, though. I said it will happen. I think WWE. What's two things about WWE that have been known for the inception, or at least since Vince McMahon Jr., the Vince McMahon we know has taken over? They love money. I guess three things, really. They love the buzz, they love money, and they're very petty. Now, someone might be like, oh, why is AEW not that? You could say the same thing about AEW. They love the buzz, they love the money, and they love people being petty. And I'm fine with the pettiness in wrestling. And even then, it's just like fun where I'm fine if WWE takes shots at AEW, and I'm fine if AEW takes shots at WWE. That's the fun fluidity of the business. I prefer that than the just like, let's ignore each other, not do anything. But the CM Punk stuff, and we don't need to go over everything, right? There's one thing I will say, which I saw a lot of people, and I still love AEW. They have their issues. It's strange because like AEW is such in a weird place right now. Let's see this. David Reese says, "Oh, David, good to see you again. Again, thank you very much for joining. Cena Rumble, Hardy's return, and the Punk. Yeah, the Hardy return. I was there for because that's one where I described there's no roof on that building. That was one of the loudest things I've ever heard. The Hardy return." Was surprised, but at least it still was tangible. And I guess this was too, right? Because CM Punk lives in Chicago, but it still was like, oh, the Hardys just wrestled last night. They lost their tag titles. It could be happening. But David's right where it wasn't like a full on, it's Scoopers being like, well, it could happen, but we don't know for sure. So those I think would be the three, even more than Cody's, because Cody's just felt like, where else is he going to go? And Cody just felt like he wanted to get back to WWE. But one thing I will say, and I love AEW, and like I said, I feel like they're in a real weird place right now. And we're gonna talk about AEW. Let's do it first, and then we'll do the CM Punk stuff. They're in a weird place right now because I've talked about this last night in the live stream where the times I go on Twitter are usually mostly during wrestling because that's when I like to see the community interact, have some fun, talk to people. That's why David S. Bubs and there's a couple other people that couldn't make it were on the stream last night because I love talking about wrestling with people during these events. It's like, oh, let's do it live instead of over the 140 characters, right? There's so much of Tony Khan dropped the bag. Oh, he fumbled the ball. Oh, biggest mistake ever. Just like how CM Punk, I definitely sided with some of the elite stuff. I always said at the same time we still don't know everything, and there's a lot of things that could have happened that couldn't have made the situation go well to force CM Punk to just kind of, I won't say snap, that's above, but just have enough of it, right? The same way as there is the joke of like, oh, Tony Khan's life was threatened, but if there was a situation where CM Punk like literally grab Tony, push him, whatever. Tony's in every right, and all this other stuff. Like, it's not like CM Punk was just like, I feel like, and it's just revisionist history, right? You could say that about WWE in 2014. They dropped the ball. They fired him on his wedding day. They really screwed that up. It's just like, it was just time to part ways. And the same thing with AEW. Like, I just think if he was still there after the Perry situation, I always said, all brawl in, whatever it was, that happens. You bring him back, give it another shot. They tried that. They did that. It wasn't working. So for whatever reason, it's just like same reason for people like that they throw out the tweet like about CM Punk and his mental health and all this stuff. It's like clearly it wasn't working there anymore, right? For whatever went down, They weren't going to get on the same bandwagon, so it was best to part ways. I still think there is, I've always said this, that Tony Khan and company handle it not the greatest as far as I think they always should have had a fucking meeting with him and Elite. You know, like that should, it doesn't matter if they're EVPs, it doesn't matter about the egos. Like I think there was ways to squash it. And again, I'm talking from just the facts we've been given on an outside source, right? I think there's stuff that Tony Khan could have done to alleviate or take pressure off the situation, and he didn't. But that's fine because we all make mistakes. He's running companies. AEW is still like 4 years old. It's a new wrestling promotion, so I just don't get that narrative of like, does it hurt AEW? Absolutely. I always said that even if it was a short run, even if it was just Roman Reigns, WWE will pay for the anti-AEW promo because there's no one that gives an anti-blank promo than CM Punk. He's so good at going out there and shitting on it. And right, that's all the clips now as far as like him talking about Saudi Arabia and blood money. Go to WWE because the grass isn't greener and go get a 2-for-1 WrestleMania, whatever. Like all these shots and all about him being a hypocrite, right? Again, does it on the surface appear a little hypocritical? Yeah, absolutely. Like it, especially some of the things he says, it goes so far, right? And he was not just saying these things like 10 years ago when Triple H, oh, he's a changed guy. It's like, no, this was 2 years ago, less than, you know, it's, it's like, it's not that far apart from when he was saying this stuff, but, you can take the route of going, who knows, you know, his AW experience changed him. Him and Triple H apparently had an hour-long conversation. Maybe they're just vibing and stuff like that. Things can happen. Vince got together, and that's where this is. That's I would never say never, because to me the biggest one, it wasn't a surprise, but the biggest get together still is Bret Hart and WWE. The screw job's way worse than anything they did to Punk, in my opinion. Surefire on the wedding day, but the screw job, they fucking embarrassed that man in his hometown. They embarrassed Bret Hart in like just a very shitty way. I agree with people that Bret should just fucking drop the belt. Like that, we're not getting the whole Bret Hart thing. But and then in between that, Bret Hart lost his brother at WWE. That will always be the biggest never say never. And it happened. So if Punk can happen, or Bret can happen, Punk can happen, and it did. I didn't think it was going to do that because most time these situations, they do leak. They do out there. Triple H pulled the classic, pull the logo up, and then the music hit. It was massive. We're going to get into some of that in a second. But for AEW, just to dovetail that, this does hurt them because I agree, and this is where there's so much debate about all like the company, especially AEW, right? Because they are. It's tough to say. They're at their lowest point, even though they just had the biggest wrestling show of all time. But that's still, two things can be true. The ratings have been tougher, the attendance has been down, but still, they're still having big gates. Like Full Gear was like almost 12,000 people. Like they're not dead. That's one thing that people are way over exaggerating. That's it. Throw the nail on the coffin. It's like, no. They can have some turbulence, but as we've seen, there's a moment where AEW is super hot and WWE had to do fucking 2-for-1 tickets. Like, momentum can shift anywhere. All it takes is one good story, one good wrestler, or one bad story, one wrestler. What if this fucking Punk mess what if this WWE Punk thing goes to shit again? And then it's just like, you know, I don't know, but let's see, Triple H did the same with bringing Bruno back for the Hall of Fame. Absolutely, yeah. Like, that one wasn't as public, but Dave's absolutely right, where Bruno and Vince, like, for years didn't even speak. At least with Bret and Vince, like, Bret had a stroke and Vince still called them and, like, wished him well, like, checked on him. You know, they had so much turbulence, but still, that was, like, it's in Bruno and him. Absolutely not. So it happens all the time, but I don't think AEW's dead, but they are in their lowest point. And this is where it's tough because I feel like with AEW now, there's the whole conversation of like, what's their identity? Like, what are they really? And I know people are like, and I like some of it, some I don't. Like, I get there's too much of like maybe the Adam Cole MJF like backstage stuff, but like, oh, it's gonna be brochachos for the next years and the Daredevil and the Devil. But it's like the very first wrestling event AEW ever put on, All In, before they were AEW, there was a match where a man came out with a bunch of inflatable penis costumes. I worded that wrong. There's like 6 to 7 guys in inflatable penis costumes. And that match was still part because in storyline, in a YouTube video, Hangman Page, I'm doing quotations, killed the man. He killed him, and he was resurrected from the dead and brought penises with him. Fuck that guy. He's a piece of shit. Good thing he's gone. But that's where I'm just like, the very first night of AEW, really, All In, there's fucking a guy coming back from the dead and inflatable penises. they've many times done the sports entertainment stuff. I do agree that you don't want to do too much. You want to be the alternative, like the Hangman and Swerve situation, which was just an all-time fucking street fight banger. I don't think I did a review on Full Gear, but just like incredible, right? And I agree with people who are, yeah, do more stuff, not drinking blood, not always violence, but you got to do more stuff that makes you different. I still think you can do storyline and have entertainment aspects, but then still be the alternative, right? And they got to get back to that. But this does hurt them because this is the other narrative people have been spinning too of like, oh, because, and I agree with this, of CM Punk being there. It was like 2 years in or whatnot, whatever it is. And then people are like, yeah, but he wasn't really AW original. And he wasn't about the spirit. He ruined the spirit. Sure, there you can make that argument that some momentum stopped after Punk got there and they're trying to get that back. Or like after he left, they're trying to get that back. But we were talking about this on the stream, a huge part of AEW's momentum and why they're so big and popular is because they had, especially, it wasn't even my stuff like this, but just like the fuck WWE, anti-WWE, I'm tired of it fans. I don't know where, like, if WWE is great, I don't stop watching in whatever year and go over to New Japan or back to New Japan. And then I don't go to AEW. There were so many people like myself that just needed a fucking break and needed fresh air. So sure, CM Punk didn't help start the company. He wasn't there at the beginning. He wasn't the original message. But he was a part of that independent, fuck WWE, I'm here to make a change. This is real pro wrestling. Remember, I left wrestling and now I'm back to professional wrestling. You know, he fit that narrative, and in those early 2 years, he helped. Some of their biggest gates and pay-per-views were with Punk. So that's why I agree where losing Cody and losing Punk, Jade hurts, but those two are the biggest because they were the example of the fuck WWE, look what happens. CM Punk was a guy that mistreated, whatever, debatable, but like in the narrative, WWE mistreated him, didn't know what they had. Cody Rhodes mistreated him to a lesser extent, but still, they made him unhappy and didn't use him to his full extent. They had the same fucking story, and they came to AEW, sprung it, and then now, and even with Edge, it's like Edge came there, and he's not like fuck WWE, he's more like, we just like didn't have anything to do with each other. So I'm here now. It's almost for me, there is a time though where Edge did say, hey, there's lots of people here I want to work with. That's true. You couldn't do that in AEW. There's just a sense of, I wonder if Edge would have been full time though, if he would have been happy with it. But I agree with people too that brought up the Chicago market. That's fucked. I'm not saying it's fucked. That's a wrong terminology. It's hurt a lot because whatever people want to say, and even myself, when CM Punk was getting chanted into Chicago, people would boo, right? And I was like, man, you've definitely hurt your reputation. And I still think the All-In AW last year did hurt his reputation and legacy a bit. But if he has a good run here, it can fix it. It can just be a cliff note. And I think that's going to be the plan, to do a good run. I'm sure that was the plan AEW though, right? But I'm really hoping it happens. But yeah, it's going to hurt the AEW Chicago market because people are booing. But I did say this on the stream where if he comes out, people are going to cheer. You want to be part of that moment. You can't believe it's happening. There was no booing last night. Those people were fucking loud. It was a massive pop, a massive surprise. And I'm happy. Whatever. Like, again, as I've said before, I didn't agree with a lot of stuff that went down. No matter what, same thing. Like, I know people talk about, oh, the fight, this is that. No matter what happens, like, just even the press conference Punk did, that, infamous one, I still was like, not like, some of this isn't the best look, So like, there's stuff that no matter what, I was not a fan of what Punk's doing. But people aren't perfect. I'm not Phil Brooks' friend. I don't need to worry about that. I'm just watching for entertainment. But it's just like, at the end of the day, the stuff he's doing, he's not being a fucking racist piece of shit. He's not being a sexual assaulter. Like, this is all very first world. It's guys fighting over fake scripted pro wrestling stuff, right? It's not that big of a deal. I can get over CM Punk doing that. Sure, I would have loved AEW to work out. I still would have loved AEW to work out, then him going to WWE. But I live in a world where if CM Punk wants to wrestle, I want him to wrestle. I will always say this is the guy that before, I did this in whatever it was, 2018, 2019, whenever it was, 2017 maybe, when I stopped watching WWE, went to New Japan. I was almost in that situation in 2012. But CM Con, big time slip there. He cut the pipe I'm gonna take a drink because I can't speak apparently. Jeez Louise. That's why I had David Nesp upstairs last night. Couldn't speak at all. So he cuts the pipe bomb, and then he goes on this legendary run. For myself and many others, feel like he kind of saved pro wrestling in a way of just like we stayed invested because of him. And the same way, like I'm gonna watch Raw and probably most WrestleMania season now because he's there, and I want to see what the fuck they're gonna do with CM Punk now, right? Um, he's always gonna have a spot in my heart for that, and he can still fucking go. He's still good in the ring. He's still one of the best promos out there, and there is a litany of matches. So, and for me, this is why. And obviously, it also happened because he had a stroke, but I never want a situation. If you don't like CM Punk, whatever, be mad at him in the future. Don't watch his stuff. I don't want a situation like Bret Hart that when he did come back to WWE, there was only so much he could do. He had the stroke. He couldn't really wrestle. There's a certain limited thing. If CM Punk is healthy and can go and have some banger stories, let's do it. And again, same thing as AEW. I said after the fight, bring him back, try it out. It's worth a shot. Didn't work out. Same thing here at WWE. Apparently it's like a 3-year deal, which I was like, okay. The good thing, I said this on this live stream last night, that WWE, they kind of have the power. CM Punk wants the big time money. He can't go back to AEW. Kind of their terms, so they could say, hey, we want a long-term commitment. Fine. I would have done maybe a shorter one, but at the end of the day, what's the worst that can happen? They do it. Let's say they get a couple matches, get some merch. Same thing happens. Him and Triple H butt heads. He butts with everybody. He's a cancer. Get to the and then he gets released again or quits or whatever, right? Then you tried it and you've checked that box. It's not a what if. I'm somebody that I've talked about before that now luckily my life is good and where I am. But when I was younger, especially in the dating world, when you're first getting out there and stuff and just everything, there's certain what ifs of like, oh, what happens if this person and I worked out? What happened if we didn't break up here? And what if we got back together there? What if I didn't break up with them? What if this, like, and usually it was the dating world. Cause luckily all my life has been, I'm happy with the other light choices. And same thing. The biggest what if like, I don't invite Emily to go see Skyfall, who knows? Because we were work together, but we weren't like talking to, like we would talk, but after that night is when more stuff started to like a bigger relationship and we'd be more friendly and dating and stuff. That's where what ifs always intrigued me, right? But now I always look at them as like, oh, that's interesting. Same thing this though with wrestling. I go, that's a what if you can't. If you don't do it now, it's probably never going to happen. And it would suck if like 10 years later they work together and they're completely fine. Like, oh, fuck, we should have done this when we could have really made some big money, That's where we are now. We're in the big money stage. We're on the stage that you're so much for Rollins, or there you go, what I was going to say, CM Punk to do. Seth Rollins, obviously the biggest one after last night. I said this on the stream, and it looks like it was true. I said, this happened. I was like, oh man, he's looking like whatever, but he's mad. He's, for people context, show went off the air. Rollins is saying, fuck you, go fuck yourself. I'm going to knock you out if you're in my face and everything. Selling it very well. And at first, like, oh geez, but then I did say, hey, I wouldn't be surprised, and I said hopefully as well, that they said right before the match, listen, Punk's coming back. Music's going to hit at this point. Just a heads up. It would not surprise me at all. Rollins, whether he told Punk or whether he told the brass or he's just doing it now just to go into business for himself, work the angle. I said last night there's a good chance he could be working, and I think that's seemingly the case. He was working. I don't know what the fuck's going on with Drew, but it does kind of play up to get that buzz. Like, okay, if they are playing up the toxic workplace, do that. It's good for money as far as like if you make it into a storyline. Seth, when CM Punk got announced to come back on that Fox show, I can't remember the tweet, but literally said like, stop talking, come fight me, but like not in like I don't think in a big negative way. He just wanted the big match because Seth knows he is a smart guy. If it makes money, he's going to do it. And I do think that is the play for WrestleMania night 1 of 40. I think that's the play. I think you have the main event night 1. It sucks because it's two situations, right? Where last year, that was the debate between Rhea and Charlotte and the tag title match. And the tag title match went on last. And I agreed with it for the storyline reasons and the first ever time that's happening. But I still think Charlotte and Rhea had the better match. I think this would be a situation again where I was saying this last night that Rhea should main event WrestleMania. She should with it. Becky it makes sense. Even Bianca makes sense. Like there's multiple people. Rhea just has the hot hand. She's one of the most over people in the world right now. But you can't like it's a situation again of like if you're trying to main event with what's the hottest, CM Punk and Rollins, that's the fucking way to go. It really, really is. I actually think there's a chance. Oh, sorry, it's like that. I think there's a chance Punk could win the Rumble and they do him and Rollins because you can get to Cody and Roman one way, right? Like that's there's multiple ways you can do that. So yeah, I think Rollins. I've always said Roman's the big money, and Rollins is money too. Roman, that's the big money. That one you could also do without a title. That's just based off the history of those two. But I think that Punk loses to Roman and he loses to Rollins. I think that he does the favors, and I think that there's the first little bit, it's going to be big. They do got to get him a win. That's why I do think winning the Rumble would actually be kind of huge. Because if you go and you win the Rumble right away, people think, okay, company's going to do right by him. If he loses the Rumble, loses the Rollins, loses the Roman, like he's got to get some wins in there, right? Or people are just going to feel that he's getting buried and they're just going to go, oh, well, this is a bust because they're not treating him like a big star. It's just the same old, right? But I think those are the two. Winning Rumble could happen. Cody, that's the other one that, of course, with he was in AEW, I wanted that. There's tons of stuff you could do there because there is an argument to CM Punk's definitely the more popular person. We'll see now because Cody's very popular, but overall, CM Punk has that. Cody Rhodes is right, where Cody Rhodes is the guy that did everything that CM Punk said he was going to do. He didn't, he left. He actually changed the wrestling business, made a huge difference. Cody's the guy where CM Punk has kept a good aura about him, but Cody Rhodes, there's a big story to tell there, and I think they could tell that big time. So, yeah, what else is there? I think he's supposed to be on Raw. There's lots of matchups. Like there's AJ Styles, there's Finn Balor, everyone on the fucking Judgment Day. Him and Dominic is gonna be tons of fun. That's who he can get a win against too, is Dominic. Like him and Dominic's gonna be tons of fun. Even I think last year, Punk made some combo like, oh yeah, even 13 years ago I wanted to beat him up. So there's tons of things they can do. I'm just excited. I'm going to be optimistic. I'm going to hope that both sides are good. They're clear with each other. I'm going to hope that Punk wants to, even if you were to tell me, hey, CM Punk, he's going to be back here for 3 years, but then after that, that's it. Perfect. If they do a swan song, a send off, and they do the fucking Hall of Fame, all the stuff, like there is a story to be told there. And I want the happy ending. It's the same thing. Whatever happened with the screw job, the fact that you got Brett and Shawn and Vince all shaking hands and making good, it's like, okay, cool. Same thing as like with Survivor Series. It's definitely not as big, but like I was saying this to S Bubs last night, because he's more new to wrestling. It's like seeing Charlotte and Becky be real life friends again. That's really cool. At the end of the day, it doesn't pack my life that much because, like, if they're not friends, whatever. That doesn't. Oh my God, Emily, did you hear they're not friends? No, but it is like as people as myself that watched that Black and Gold era when they came up together and you could see that friendship and they had like all these little ins and the whole tea thing, right? Like it was like you feel invested. You're like, oh, good for these girls. And then when you hear in real life that they had a falling out, and I think it's just because all of us in real life, if you have falling out, it's like that just sucks, right? So that's where it's like that warms my heart. I'd rather the two situations be, the not friends or friends. That same thing with Punk. He could come in and it could go to shit, and that would suck, and it would affect my fandom a little bit. But I go, okay, well, we move on, and that's it, right? I, as a wrestling fan and a CM Punk fan, because my top three guys, I don't know what order. This is the way I like kind of describe it: is the Undertaker got me into wrestling. CM Punk got me back into wrestling, and then, or like saved me to keep watching wrestling. And then Kenny Omega introduced me to a new wrestling. That's why they're my top three favorite. Undertaker was always my favorite. He'd probably still be all time there, but I don't know. It's also Mark Cowboy's he's a questionable guy. I watched that Undertaker doc again, and he has like this like Pence and like Trump shirt where it says like Fire and Fury. It's like, what a loser shirt. It's fine, but whatever. The America proud, like that's all good. But that one's just like, oh my God, man. Like, but that's where you go. You separate the art from the artist. And same thing with the situation. So I would like the same way Undertaker did get to finish his story in a way, going on his own terms. That was great. I want that for Punk. I want a good run. I want the last match. I want the whole send off. I want him to be happy because he had whatever you say. And I said this last night. I don't know. There is nobody. I'm not saying popular T-shirt sales, success, whatever, but I'm saying there's nobody. And 2011 to now has proved that. And 7 years of that equation, he was not wrestling. There's nobody that is more talked about in the wrestling industry in history than CM Punk. He can create a buzz, no matter. And like I said last night, people were booing the chant. Some people, the second he comes out, no, talk of the town. You got the Seth Rollins things happening. You got these memes being shared. Everything. The AW. Think about like he goes back to AEW, says the whole fuck you WWE stuff, has a bunch of great matches, gets in multiple fights, maybe gets in a fight with his boss. 2 months later, back with WWE, the company that he just said he said all this stuff, right? And that's right at the end of the day where people, I forgot to say that, talk about the hypocrite thing. Sure, it does seem like that. There's two sides of it. That yes, things have changed, or two, yeah, he is, and I think it's just showing that Punk's just going where the money is, and that's where most people are gonna go in life, right? Like, so I saw a good tweet where, for all you guys calling him a hypocrite, I feel like you don't know the feeling of getting $1 million, and that's pretty cool. Like, and that's the same thing. It's like that question, right? If someone were to come to you and be like, "Hey, the worst job you ever had," of course, people talk about mental health, but this is where the society's changed. Because I agree with this. People could go to you, "Hey, that worst job, the job you hated. What if you could go back for this large sum of money?" You probably would take it. And maybe some people might go, "Oh, my mental health is sad." But that's where when people used to do, and I think this was more true back in the day, like, well, money doesn't buy happiness. Unfortunately, it does. With our economy, the way food is, the way stuff are, like, if I had a bunch of money and I knew, hey, I could put all like girls through college if they want to do that, that would make me happy. I can still be happy in my experience, everything like that, but the way everything is, rent, gas, groceries, and I'm not saying Punk's suffering from that, but I'm just saying having as much money as possible nowadays is never a bad thing. And Punk, same thing. We're in the big money period. They want to completely stomp out AEW. They're making money right now at WWE. They're trying to get new TV rights deals and stuff. This is the time for Punk to cash in. He eventually could get too old, get too hurt. WWE might not be interested. He might not be as hot. This is literally the time to do it. So it makes a bunch of sense. I still didn't think it was going to be a Survivor Series. Thought Rumble could be a sense. I thought it would leak out. It leaked out like 2 minutes before because people were like, he's backstage, he's there. But I think that I'm very happy he's there. I'm ready for a bunch of banger matches, bunch of banger stories. I hope it works out. I really do. I hope that's just, hey, it's 3 years, finish it out, have a good run, have a swan song, do a Hall of Fame, like do all this stuff. Like, I want to end on a good note. That'd be great. Like I said, the same way Brett, all that shit went down, it still relatively ended on a good note there. And that's always the best way things in life, that's what you want for friends, for people you enjoy watching, because that's what I was saying too. Whatever you feel, CM Punk is one of the biggest names of professional wrestling ever. Maybe he's not on Roman Reigns or Cena or Hulk Hogan's level, but the amount of buzz he's created and the amount of times he's changed or been a part of changing the industry, like CM or Triple H said, love him, hate him, doesn't matter. He brings in a conversation, and that's where they're smart to get him. And I'm very excited. I hope it's going to work out. That would be the best situation. But if not, then it was just a great moment. So we'll see. Let's see here. Oh, I've seen this earlier. As of now, CM Punk's expected to be on Raw. I've heard, this is from Sean Reynolds. So I heard there's a discussion of him being a free agent, but that isn't confirmed. And free agent WWE just means he could go to like multiple shows and everything. So cool. That'd be fine. Like, yes, the same way I said this with CM Punk, with Cody, they left a lot of matches on the table. And that's where that debate a couple months ago or weeks ago, I guess, if like, should they have done Omega versus MJF? I agree. It was a little rushed. They should have waited, but you never say never. What if one gets hurt? What if one leaves? Do it, and you can always run it back. I'm always down for having the match happen, then not happen. Because in AEW, there's a slew of matches that we never got with Punk and Cody, and it sucks, and we'll probably never will. So it's the same thing now. As much as that, yeah, have him wrestle Dominic Mysterio on Raw or SmackDown, but for his matches, like, hit them all right away. Rollins, Cody, Roman, AJ, hit all these big ones. And then once you've done, okay, it's a year and a half, we've hit these big ones, what's next? Create stories, new stars, whatever it may be. Like that, like, go for the juggler. So yes, let's take our ad break and we'll start talking about some movie news. So we'll be right back talking about some Aquaman. And we're back. So yes, let's talk about Aquaman. Man, the comic book movie fatigue. This is where as I've said on Trash Told You, there is a superhero fatigue, but there's also just a very big pickiness with the audience because what? Indiana Jones lost money. God, Mission Impossible. I think there's another one in there, but obviously the latest one as of late, the one as late, the Marvels, that bombed. We talked about in these casts. Terrible second weekend. We've been over that. Aquaman 2, so Lost Kingdom, which I have not bought my tickets, but Lost Kingdom, that's coming out December 22nd, a day after it came out the first time. Like the first one came out the 21st. To put this in perspective, Aquaman 1, which we all admit, we go, what the fuck happened there? How did we get to $1 billion? Because no one was predicting that, right? So the first one had a 3-day weekend of 70 million, and then with the Christmas holidays put in, and there was, I guess, it was 70 million because they did like some early screenings. 3-day weekend, and then 3-day weekend was 70, and then 100 million for the 5-day weekend with Christmas holidays and everything. Now they don't have the Christmas one in there because I think that they just are. This is long-term tracking. This is far out there, so it just has the weekend, right? They'll get into Christmas because it's Monday, Tuesday in the future. But right now, it's tracking to 32 to 42 million domestic. As I've said, and many have said, there's no better time for Marvel and DC to be going on a break than right now. Yes, you have some shows coming out, but for the theatrical stuff, Deadpool being until July, great. Joker being until October, great. They need it, whether it's this specific brand of the DC universe, whether it's just in general. Now, I've said this at GOA. I haven't said this publicly, but it's not some big reveal. My trash told you is it's going to break 50. I do not... I cannot believe it's 32 and 42. Now, here's the worry that the Marvels is the same track, the site they did the Marvels, and tracking's been all over, right? It always is. It's harder to track nowadays, I feel, just because like the market's always shifting. But that was at a time where I said that's going to be below 60, and the tracking came in and it was 50 to 70. So I was like, okay, it could pass it, but I'm still within range, right? And we saw... Technically, if you go the low end, it only was 3 million on the tracking. Still not good. I said if that opened under 50, that's a disaster, and it did. And then it had a near 80% drop. Another disaster. Marvel's financial wise, disaster. Sucks. With Aquaman, the Marvels that had that, and then eventually went to like, it's only 780, and then all of a sudden it was like, no, big drop. If this is the same site, you could argue that 32 to 42 million could be high end and it could be lower. I don't think so. I think Momoa has enough juice to get it over 50. I think 50, it'll beat the Marvels. I think this is just early tracking. Christmas will help it too, at least. And the other thing is too, like 70 to 100, that's not it's a very big opening, of course, but it had legs. I don't know if Aquaman's going to have legs or fish legs, whatever. Let me just take a look at first showing, because you have Wonka, which we're going to talk about box office later on, coming in the back half here. But you have Wonka coming out, which is, I think that's supposed to be like it was like a 20 to 30, I think. So that's supposed to be lower tier 2. So I don't think that's going to do too much. I was just going to see Color Purple. That'll have an audience, but I don't think the big audience there. But in January, you get the Beekeeper, the Mean Girls ones. That can make some money. Argyle in February. Dirty Dancing sequel, apparently. Lisa Frankenstein, Bob Marley, Madam Web. So Madam Web. And even then, I was going to say, really it's not till June. Because I was going to say, you got Madam Web. No, you don't. Like, you do. It's coming out February 14th, but I just mean like, it's not the same where it's like, this is the next big superhero one. It's like, no, I think that could eat it too. So there is a chance that if the movie is enjoyable enough, that Aquaman can come out and have good legs. But we'll see. People thought The Flash could do that. People thought, Marvels could do that. It didn't. That wasn't the case. So Aquaman, it might be a situation where people don't have the legs. It's a situation where people, I'll wait for streaming, because that happens a lot now, right? So, like I said, do I think it's going to happen? No. What does it show? Just more of the same. It definitely, and again, you can't fix everything, because if we talk about Mission Impossible, Indiana Jones, there's other franchises, popular franchises with popular stars that are losing money, bombing. I'll say bombing. I know it sounds harsh, but they are bombing in a sense. So it is not just comic book stuff, but a break does help. And This shows that the momentum has lost from both these franchises right now. For the most part, there's the bigger characters I still think could bring it. Um, and yeah, you got Christmas weekend or Christmas Monday, Tuesday, which people, go see movies. But hey, if that's your thing, you go do that. I could never. I'm stuffed up. I'm just hanging out and everything. That's the last thing I want to do is get dressed and go out anywhere. But yeah, do I think it's gonna? What if it did below 50? Same thing. I think it's kind of that because I think the other thing was saying it's long term, like tracking overall domestic was like 110 to 120, and like what is I think Aquaman's because Aquaman is one that made like a lot foreign wise, foreign box office, but let's say box office. I feel that 1.1. No, I just want to get it's domestic. I feel like it was like 300, 400. Yeah, so domestic 330, and then international 816. So one, you got to hope that the international market's coming out again because that was the fucking huge majority of this film. 800 million versus 300 million. But even then, so if it's 130, you're 100, you're about 200 million lower than the first opening. Not good. But at the same time, I think again, and the good thing is with MCU and the DCU now, they have just the big break, one film, and then there's still like a break to their other stuff. So they got time. As I've said, there's time to win back the audience. You just have to make, I know this sounds stupid, you just got to make good stuff. It's not that. It's just that you got to make some quality stuff. So when they do come back and they do choose not formulaic stuff, that people are going to be back to be a part of the ride. I think people are done with a certain type of film. They're looking for something new. And as I've said, the three things that you can be guaranteed for the box office is a big legacy one, a big character, or a great film. Legacy meaning something like a Guardians 3, a sequel to characters we love. A big name, Spider-Man, Batman. We're going to find out how big a name Superman is in 2025. Because I don't know. That's one I really don't know. I need to see the previews, the looks, everything. Superman is a big name, but he's taken some damage. But at the same time, Spider-Man, granted, as we look back at it now, Amazing Spider-Man 2 at 700 million was looked upon as like, this is a disappointment. People would kill for that now. But even then, in a time where he was maybe the lowest, he came back bigger than ever. Batman, like characters always. So you could argue that Superman, I don't think he's in his lowest ever. No. I'd still say that's probably the Superman Returns era. But let's say even if he was, you can bring that guy back. You can make him a big profitable character again. So yeah, don't count it out, but I'm very curious to see what is going to happen in the next little bit. But yeah, Aquaman tracking to be less than half of the first one. Yikes! That's not good, and it's an expensive film that they reshot a bunch. And I'm sure they're going to be like, "Why did we reshoot this? Oh, because the $1 billion sequel." But you kind of went. Now you might go, maybe it was not worth the time. So we will see. Okay, now we go from one. Luckily, the Aquaman shitstorm is not as bad as this one because that's just money and whatever. Scream 7. So we didn't talk about this on the news because one, Kirkland and Dylan don't really watch Scream, and plus, like, we should always try to take the news like a bit more on a fun route, and it's had some layers. And also that I didn't want to put them in a position where if they didn't want to talk about stuff, everything, because the whole Israel-Palestine issue, it's a very complicated thing. We're not going to break it down. You don't know everything unless you're very well studied. I don't know everything. I've said it before, and people can look at it. Like we did a charity stream for Palestine kids in need. So that's where you might go, oh, I know where you are. But just like, one, fuck off, because like if anyone's ever mad at myself, the G crew, or anybody for doing a charity and this was not about the war, not about picking sides, which I'm on the side of, again, the two things I would never understand. I'm not trying to be too political, but why anybody would not just be down for a ceasefire for everybody. Because like, there should be nothing wrong with that. Like that's when fucking Gal Gadot, they talk about, what about ceasefire? Oh, I don't think that's the right thing right now. And it's just like, yes, the right thing is to just fucking pound down on people with explosions. And I'm saying everybody, countries, terrorist groups, that is the perfect thing of stop fighting, stop killing, fucking figure it out. And I know it goes decades back. I'm not saying that's probably a possibility now. It's so far gone, right? But that's like anyone that is like, oh, you're for a ceasefire? That's a questionable person. Anybody that's wanting a fucking war, it's like, no matter what should happen, the situation on a global scale like that, the best thing should be to talk it out and figure it out. So that's one. And two, same thing. People, because reason we did a past one, because that was a conflict going on, tied to a lot of stuff at that time, and that charity was specifically for many kids that have nothing to do with it. Kids that have been born, kids that are 5 years old, have nothing to do with this war. They just want to live their life, grow up, get to have the opportunities that we have, and they're getting killed. The fucking parents are watching their children killed right in front of them in the most brutal way. It's just like, and shit like that was going on, right? So that's where it's like, if you're listening to this and you go, oh, well, you did a charity for Palestine, that's kind of one Palestine children, that's I don't know if I can really support that. Please don't. I don't ever want you to be a part of GeekVerse. I don't want you to ever be listening. You can have whatever thoughts you have of the conflict, but anybody doing a charity for kids that are not a part of the war, and we haven't got this, luckily, the pushback, right? I'm just saying that I've blocked a few people this week too of like, I'm always down for a conversation, but I had somebody too where we were talking about Jen Ortega's and this Marissa, fuck, I can never say her last name, but Marissa's situation here, right? And they responded and they said some stuff, and then they're like, and hint, and blah, blah, blah. It's just like, I don't have any, and I blocked that person. And some might go like, oh, why you just blocked and not have a conversation? It's just like, anybody that has like that passive aggressive snotty attitude when it comes to this stuff, like people's lives, even the comic book stuff, it's lame. You're just kind of a nerd. We do the Discord, like that's different when we're like having a fun time joking around, but when it's like real, like being snotty comic book wrestling stuff, sure, I'll go and talk to you about that, or might go back and forth because it's just fake stuff. But real world stuff, it's like, I don't need that shit in my life. So it's the same thing with this. Like, I will proudly say that we raised, can't remember what it was, over $500 for kids that need it, kids that have lost their homes, kids that in a day, I remember there's a story, that was the one that got me. I'm not going to try and get sick, it's happening everywhere, but it was like, it was a little, I think it was a boy, and in the whole day, he lost his sister, brother, mom, and dad. Doesn't matter. No fucking kid, no kid anywhere in the world should have that happen at all. That's like, your life is just, hopefully it's not over. Hopefully you can recover and live life, but that is some of the most tragic shit ever. And that's where, for me, this whole situation with Marissa, I am and this is where it comes down to personal opinion, right? But I read the stuff she put out there. I did not take that any of it was Semitism. Sorry. Nothing was, because people say, oh yeah, I was her talking about Jewish. She never talked about Jewish people, and literally stuff like, it's weird where you'll hear reports about, oh yeah, Israel's like, and I'm not trying to say it's just them. Both, Palestine has this group, bad stuff's happening. There's a whole layered situation. But this idea of they've cut off Wi-Fi and certain people can't see news reports. And then when she says, oh yeah, they're controlling the media and the U.S. is controlling the media there, and people, no, that can't be the case. Again, not trying to get political, but I just feel like the things she said were things that you can actively just find out if you go look into it. And it's fine to be, and even if you disagree, and if you're full on the Israel side, and I'm on no side, I'm on the ceasefire side. I'm on the side that I don't want fucking innocent people, men, women, children, whoever, dying for a fucking, like, I'm not going to say senseless war because there's the start of it, but just like, to me, most war is senseless. We should not get to a situation where we have to kill each other to figure out the situation. That's the all-time low. The fact that we have 2 world wars is like an all-time low. We should not have that, right? I didn't see anything that she said was so far over the line, so far of like, hey, you're on the Palestine side, but this is really cutting it close to being offensive, or really just like out of turn. You shouldn't be saying this stuff. I didn't think that, but at the end of the day, it's their prerogative, right? And I think it's shitty, and I hope people don't turn against me. It is their prerogative to, if they feel that, and I've seen other people go like, oh, well, Netflix are not doing this, and this people are not doing it. Warner Bros. Didn't fire Ezra Miller, and everyone's like, Hollywood needs to take a stance. Yes and no. Take a stance, sure, but they're separate companies. They're not all going to link up together and be like, well, we have this policy. If you say the word but, you're fine, but if you say the word ass, you're out. They're all different companies. They do what they do. All I can go is say, hey, this is dumb. And now I'm less invested in Scream, and I'm fine if Scream ends here. This is a very dumb reason, and it's shitty. It's like the same way as like, we think all about that, about the Batgirl stuff and everything, but like them getting rid of the film, but we still watch their stuff, right? I'm still gonna, I was gonna say I'm still gonna watch Scream 7. There's a chance I could. Like I'm not gonna go on the stake and say, oh, I absolutely will not. I love the franchise, like to see where it goes. I didn't love the last one, so that's why I'm not too invested in it right now. I'm fine if it ends there. But it might be a situation where maybe I don't need to see it. I don't know. I That's a bridge for another time. But it gets me less invested, gets other people less invested. And I think just take out um the real world stuff. Losing Marissa and losing Jenna is a big thing. Marissa was the main lead. Jenna is one of the biggest. She's going to be one of the biggest stars. She was already on the rise. I remember when I saw her in You, I was like, okay, this girl's going to be something. And she was. She's going to be the big star, as we say in GeekVerse, right? And I know I definitely have the conspiracy theory hat when it's like, hey, this was months ago when Jenna said she was leaving. She wasn't going to be in it. But other people have said, well, she's going to be in it. It was going to be a reduced role, maybe 3 scenes, but she's still going to be in it. The fact that those reports came out the day after Marissa was gone, to me, it's like, if there is any chance of Jenna coming back, sure, it's a conspiracy theory. Maybe months ago they did give the whole heave-ho and say, oh, I'm not coming back. But for me, it's like, it's a good cover story for the studios right away and put it up like, no, don't worry. She was already out months ago. We had already parted ways. This is a completely separate situation. Yeah, okay. I'm sure even if it was going to be a small role, this could be a little thing to be like, yeah, I'm good. I'm definitely good. She has made similar comments in the past. She liked a post on Instagram. I don't know, I'm being like that whole like the Twitter sleuth thing, but like she liked to post on Instagram talking about how kind of crappy it was of them to do that. You can read between the lines as far as if she was coming back, she wasn't gonna now. And of course, if she had a contract, she'd have to, sure, but like she didn't have a contract. Apparently, her and Marissa were out, and they were gonna be doing new ones, right? So that's where it's like, if this doesn't happen, maybe she's coming back. But if this happened and she was agreed, and like even like a handshake deal, is gonna go away now. And so yeah, it's a weird situation. It sucks. I've said this before. I was not the biggest fan of the Sam Carpenter character. I don't think Marissa was the right person for that role, but I don't ever want to go down this way. And from a franchise, they made them fall in love with those two and the core four, right? And it's not like Scream's throwing out big numbers, but still you have an audience there. So what do? What's the play? Well, the rumors are they're retooling the script, going back to start, and they're going to be looking to get Nev Campbell and Patrick Dempsey. And I dropped this in the Discord of like, man, I feel like the Thanos gif of, with the daughter, what did it cost you? Everything. Since I've been on this podcast and Scream's been back, I've been talking about, man, I just want Patrick Dempsey, because Patrick Dempsey was in Scream 3 when he wasn't a star. Like, he was just kind of like around. And I was like, after Grey's Anatomy, how is he not around? He didn't come back for Scream 4 because I think they said it was a scheduling conflicts. Scream 5, I don't think they even talked. And then Scream 6, same thing. I think that was another maybe scheduling conflicts, but it sounded like, okay, it might happen here. And I think there's tons of potential. Him and Sydney, the kids. Patrick Dempsey just won Sexiest Man of the Year. Well-deserved. A little late, but well-deserved. It is the time, and I want it, and I think it'd be very exciting, but it just sucks that it comes at this expense. I'm of two minds. The personal side of me wants them to go, especially Nev, say no. So then they're just really fucked. They got no Ortega, they got no Marissa, they got no Nev, because Nev, they fumbled last time with the pay thing, right? So I'd love they said no, and like they're just completely fucked. Like, what do we do? Then I just think you hard reboot it. The fan side of me, it's like when we're going to talk about the CM Punk stuff, it's like, this is the time. Patrick Dempsey, this is the time now, because if they reboot it, that's over, right? So I don't know. Interesting to see. I think Nev will get a good paycheck if she does do it. We'll see which way it goes down. I'm definitely like less invested because it is just shitty that this is the way it all went down. I'd be completely fine if they left or parted ways, not for this. But if you want to try and go the, don't let the art affect the artist, then it's a good ending for the characters at least, right? Like, that's the one way you can look at it. Like, they walk off together, those two sisters. They throw the Scream mask or Ghostface masks in the past. Kind of works, right? So we'll see. My levels are like, I don't need it though either. It's like I want Patrick Dempsey, but it's like I could also feel like the boat has sailed, or that ship has sailed, and ship it works, and it's over. And we had a good run. We'll see Scream again in the future, and we never got Patrick Dempsey, but oh well. Hopefully he's great in Ferrari. So We'll see. So let's take our final ad break, and we'll be right back. All right, so let's talk about some box office here. I'll bring this up because I think the box office just came out actually. So I'm going to do box office and Saltburn review. So that came out, so I can talk about that a little bit. I don't think I'll do a spoilers one because I just don't think I have the time because I got some stuff to do. Maybe in the future, but let's see. Box office. Let's see. Oh, there's Pro Box Office Mojo. Don't want to use that. Let's see. That was the latest weekend. No, I was hoping for. I thought the stuff would have come out by now because let's see. I can probably give me a second here because yeah, I'm literally doing this 8:50. Box the number. Numbers. Okay, let's see if they got the opening weekend here at the numbers, and if not, I will go pull up the Twitter sphere. Okay, perfect. Thank you. The number. See, Brent Clark. Good man, introduced me to David, which is great because, always good to have another wrestling friend. But they introduced me to the numbers, much better. Box Office Mojo, not even updated. The numbers, updated. Okay, so here we go, man. Where is... Is this the weekend, or is this the weekend domestic chart for November 24th? Total gross. Oh man, that's not good. Speaking of Saltburn, I just don't see Saltburn like anywhere, like even in the top 10, or like even the top like 16. That would make sense. There's only 4 people in my theater. It was not hidden with the crowd, and I think there's a few people that did not know what this movie was. We'll wait to there. So let me just confirm these are the numbers here. Napoleon. Let's see, 5-day launch. Oh, now it goes away. But yes, the box office right now, lots of movies coming out. Okay, so this is right. Good job, the numbers. So Hunger Games, really good hold. Now, here's a situation where I had said that, hey, people don't really care about Hunger Games. Now, I still feel that to extent, but what I do think has happened, that everyone that has seen it that I've talked to is surprised that it's really good. I still don't need to see it in theaters. I can perfectly wait for home. But listen to this drop. 35% drop. That's mega good, especially nowadays when you're getting 70 drops and 60 plus drops almost every weekend. That's really good. Now, I think a situation where, so you got that at 28, Napoleon at 20, Wish at 19, Trolls at 17, Thanksgiving at 7, pretty good for Thanksgiving. Marvel's at 6 million. The holdover is 2.7 and then 2.3 million for Taylor Swift. But the top 5 is really what we're talking about here. That's where it needs to come down to, for whatever reason, people have heard enough buzz about it. I don't think it's like huge buzz, but like, you gotta see Hunger Games. I just think I keep hearing people being like, yeah, I'm surprised. It's good. And out of these films, like Napoleon, another one, not like, it doesn't matter because it's Apple, they don't care. But versus budget, that's a box office bomb right there, right? But Apple, they got all the money to end all time, so they're okay. But Napoleon, 20 million. I'm excited to see it, but another one like I can see at home. Don't need to see that. Like especially when I was on S Bubs and like the big action pieces aren't the whole film. It's like, okay, I can definitely wait to see that. Wish, 19 million. Disney, this is definitely their toughest year in who knows how long. Between Marvel, I'd say Star Wars, some quality, and then their animation. Who knows if this can have a run? I do agree with people. It was weird that this and Trolls band together were out so close to each other. I feel like Trolls should win a little bit earlier because now it kind of divides the market. I think that's a big thing that Elemental had, that it was the only kids movie during summer. So it's like, well, if we want to see a kids movie, we gotta see Elemental, right? So, and Wish, at least Elemental I heard good things about. Wish, I just hear it's just meh. So I think I'm going to be seeing that next week with the girls. So I'll let you know what I think about that. But I think Hunger Games is a case of people going, okay, that whole is really good. A case of, all right, it's better than I thought, or maybe I'm ready to jump back in. At the same time, though, 35% great, but it's like Thanksgiving at 31%. That's a great hold. There's still lower numbers. It's still only 28%, and so it's at 98 million total gross right now, right? And the budget, worldwide is 197. So I think they've made their budget back. But again, this had a lot of marketing too. So let's say, what is it? Bout of Songs and something. There we go. Let's see. Let's get that budget. So budget was 100 million. So now they're in the place where, depending how next weekend goes, they can start making some money, because if you're supposed to double it, they're about to cross 200 million. Now it's the break even point. So that's where I was. And other thing too that I didn't know that this was just a one off. I thought this was trying to set up a bunch of stuff. I was informed after that there's just one book and there's really no meant for sequels. So if they can get on the other side and make some money, then that works out. That's great. They can do more box sets, all that stuff. So I still am not surprised as far as like the Hunger Games franchise near the end showed. Let me just pull this up here. Hunger Games box office. Let's see, franchise. I'll see if I can pull up the whole thing here. It showed that like so here's these numbers. First, where are we? So the first one 408. The next one was 424, and then the next one after that was 337. So there was a dip, but still, like, to me, like, the audience is there. Part 2, 281. That's when you're getting close to losing, half of what the first one, maybe 40, a high 30%. That's, to me, was showing, okay, people are over this. So we'll see, but like Hunger Games Part 2 was 281. I feel like if this we'll see what it's all about next weekend. Whatever the legs are, I feel like you could kind of finish around that, to me, which shows like, yeah, there's still a core base there. There's still people are going to come out, but it's still not people are like in droves wanting to see it, right? There's still people like myself that go, I can wait. So I think that's the situation with that, but still better than a bomb. Like, it's going to at least make some money. So better than that, right? Napoleon, that's going to bomb. Yeah. And yeah, Saltburn, not even in here in Marvels, having a 37% drop. 6.4 million. Let's see what the current run is right now, because we don't know the budget. We've heard 200, we've heard 250, 270, we've heard 300. Oh my goodness. Worldwide box office 187. And it's pretty much like, I think we're nearing the end, which that's crazy. Hunger Games going to end up making more. Like Kill the Flower Moon might end up making more too. Like, they're very close. But yeah, 187. That's like, let me take a look here. Morbius, because I think Flash was, I think it crossed 200, right? So it beat Morbius 162. There you go. But again, the fact that it's like probably gonna finish at that number, really bad. Flash, let's see, let's take a second here. Flash movie that finished at 266, which is still a terrible number. But yeah, so I don't think it's gonna beat Flash, but yeah. That's tough. That's a tough go around. Hopefully it finds an audience down the line. But yeah, I was trying to look. So domestic box office for Saltburn is 377,000. I'm part of that. That's me. It's like when I saw Beau is Afraid. It's like, that's me. I put some money towards it. Yeah, that's a rough number. But yeah, Saltburn, I can give a quick mini review there. So everyone knows Promising Young Woman, massive fan. Love that film. That was my favorite film of the year when it came out in 2020, right? Yeah, 2020. Loved it. Carey Mulligan, it's great. Ever since then, Emerald Fennell, I'm going to be wherever she is. But this was the whole, we've seen, and it's debatable, right? Because I've learned that tons of people hate Promising Young Woman and hate Emerald's work. I guess it's just like the Taika thing or the Snyder thing or the Gunn thing or the Tarantino thing, where it's just like, well, it's going to be what you like or what you don't like, I guess, right? I loved that, but still there was the situation of, we've been there enough times where we get the first great film, in my opinion, and then it's like, oh, the rest are all right to fine, and it was just that one great film. There is no sophomore slump here. This, Saltburn, she did it again. As right now, my number one movie of the year. That's a quick take to do. That's passing Barbie and Oppenheimer. Now, do I think it's the best movie of the year? No, I still think I still think Oppenheimer is the best movie of the year. I think Nolan should win Best Picture, maybe actor for Murphy, Best Director. That to me is the better made one. This movie though, my God, it's for sure just a Travis movie, because I've seen some critiques too where I go, other movies do that, and two, it's just like, well, it's just like a same thing like a Lighthouse or a Beau is Afraid, different strokes for different folks. This is fucking batshit. This is like, if you were to watch, there's the style choices, so that's the same thing, but Promising Young Woman to this, there's not like a huge correlation as far as like what happens in there, because like crazy stuff happens in Promising Young Woman, but this is like that movie times 1,000. It there is 3 sequences in here that are fucking bonkers. Emerald fucking swung for the fences. She did not just like pull back. She kept swinging and swinging. And she made sure it was fucking way past that stadium, for me at least. And especially on the weirdness factor. She's the person that when we're talking about doing weird shit with GeekVerse and filming stuff, she's the person that inspires me and gives me hope of like, man, you're making this weird shit now. I think Promising Young Woman had a hook that could get people in. This is gonna be not a lot of people's cup of tea. And this one I definitely understand more. It definitely feels a lot more like Babylon. This is crazier than Babylon, but it feels like Babylon, where there's just a group of people that just go, this film is not it. The vibe's not for me, for multiple reasons, right? I think this is the Babylon of 2024. I absolutely love this. Fucking, it just visually look, the 4x3 is great, but just visually, just like we talked about in the trailer, it's like lots of things just have this gold aesthetic, but everything just feels so vibrant. They can be muted, but just vibrant and just kind of luscious in a way. Like they have, the colors are like deep. If it's red, it's a deep red. It's a deep gold. So it feels darker at times, but no, it just like brings you in. Everyone, the way they're shooting the people, everyone just looks fucking hot and gorgeous. Like they just look like supermodels here. Performances, everybody is here to play, and this is why a movie like this, when people, I don't remember, I don't think there was much of a controversy, but this is why, hopefully more in the Batman Part 2 or Part 3, I said that when he was rumored, and then it was confirmed, Barry Keoghan as a Joker is one of the most interesting, fascinating picks. That's such an inspired choice, and movies like this remind me to go, he is one of the most underrated actors right now. That's why this choice is so fucking good, and I hope that happens. Can't wait for more. He's so damn good in this movie. And again, like there's other things too. Like there's a certain thing with his character and his story that I absolutely love. But there's certain things where people go, people get too serious about like, oh, this take for the world, it's not what we need right now. People are gonna take the wrong message. It's the fucking Joker thing again. We're like, oh my god, we put this out, incels. They're gonna like 2019 is like, everyone's gonna get murdered in the theater. This is gonna cause controversy that we will never recover as a fucking nation. We cannot support Joker and what it's saying about mental health. No, you know what's a big issue is like what is actually happening in the world right now. Joker 2 or Joker didn't do everything. What did it do? Made people go fucking dance on stairwell and do a bunch of new costumes for Halloween. Same as Saltburn. This is not the take we need right now. With what it means between like the rich and the poor, this is a dangerous take. This is damaging to people that are the working class. I'm part of the working class. I don't fucking feel damaged from watching this movie being like, oh man, look at how they represent us here. It's a character, it's a story, it's a take. It's much more like American Psycho in a way, where it's just like it has those allegories for rich versus poor, but it's not like, hey, I gotta do what Patrick Bateman does to become rich. It's like, it's a character in a fucking movie. It's fictional. We want to tell a story about these messed up people. Let's do it. Let's do Saltburn. And they fucking did it. And my goodness. But, oh, and the soundtrack, my God. Just banger after banger choice. Like a minor spoiler, the movie takes place in 2006, so it does like the music is like around that time. But like I was like, this is a top tier soundtrack. It's not like the Barbie one where Barbie was top tier because they made all these songs, so much effort. This is just like more like Guardians level, where every song is like perfect choice. Promising Woman also had a killer soundtrack too. So just visually, there's great shots in here. When a movie can have one moment that I'm never going to forget, that's great. Sometimes good or bad. Like I said, this has 3 where it's like, fuck, that's what I love, is stuff that to me, you go for it, but it also makes sense in the story. Sometimes you can go for that shock value and it doesn't go, okay, I get it, but you're just doing that for the sake of doing that. Still cool, but if you could have put some story behind there, some motivations, great performances even, that'd be wonderful. She does that. This is a movie that I'm gonna recommend to people that you gotta go see it, but I couldn't recommend it because I don't know if everyone's gonna like it. I can't recommend it to my mom. There was a guy, I swear there was a guy, I had no idea what he was watching because I felt like he was like a fucking like really right winger guy. They played that preview for that Paul Pascal movie where he's with Andrew Scott and they're gay lovers. And I swear he did like this during the trailer, like he put his hands over his eyes like a fucking loser, and, like looked away because there's like lots of like man on man action. So I was just like, this movie's not for you. And even then too, it's like that's a whole a big con I heard going into that's like a big queer baiting movie. It's like to me, there's a big difference of when they did that with Valkyrie and like, hey, she's gonna find her queen and nothing happens in Thor: Love and Thunder. This is like the queer baiting is like kind of like it's part of the plot. Like like it's like there's a specific reason for like, oh, they made these previews look like it was gonna be a bunch of men and dudes getting on. Where did that happen? It's like I don't want to spoil stuff, but it's just like there's reasons for that, and I feel like they don't pull back on that. It's not like they're trying to be a Disney movie that's like, oh, we're gonna edit this scene out so you can't play it in international markets. There is one scene in particular that is very like homoerotic. Like it is like it is a sex scene between men. I'll just say that. And there's multiple sex scenes in the movie. It's just like, what are we doing here? Like like I'm watching a scene where a man makes another man come. Like this is not like the queer baiting stuff. Like I get it. Like maybe I can't speak on that. Maybe someone else will come up there and say for X, Y, and Z. But then I would go and counter and say, well, there's aspects of that are for the plot and the character progression. Like it was fantastic. Like I said, performances, directing, visuals, soundtrack. Oh, just a smorgasbord of great stuff. I don't know if I want to say this is one of my favorite films ever, but I think it's going to be a top 50. This is a movie I'm going to watch many, many times. Fucking love this movie. And I was expecting to like it. I didn't know if it was going to be my number one for the year because I loved those other two. But yeah, Saltburn, it's got the goods. It's got the vibe. It fucks. It's everything you want, man. For me, at least. If you're a fan of her, a Protestant woman, don't listen to people. It delivers. But I can still see it not being for everybody because it takes some swings that are not going to be for the weak of heart. So that is Trash Told You. I'm going to end it right now because I got hiccups. Thank you very much for tuning in. Talk to you later in the week. Bye-bye.